Welcome back to our evening 4:45 session, our PM session for the Battle of Atlanta. We have with us Jesse Ray, founder of Next Level Martial Arts from the wonderful state of New York. Jesse, welcome to the show.
What's up, Mallory, man? My ex-teammate, Mallory Woods.
Oh, we never ex, we always teammates.
That's right, man. I got to put you out there. But we're doing well, man. Happy to be here. We got the Next Level Camp going on, and, we're about to rock the shot. You got my son, his first real seminar, Tyson Ray, and I got James, Anthony, Kodak. So we got the whole crew here. So it's going to be something special.
Now, it's actually interesting because right now, everybody that's with you has been with you from a child.
Yes, man. We pride ourselves on being homegrown. James, I had James since he's about 6 years old. Of course, my son from birth, Anthony, about 6 years old. And we got some Darren and Chris, and these guys been with me since they've been kids or whatever. So these guys are actually our students. And, we're kind of like a family-orientated martial arts school, and the guys love competing, so they do well on the competitions level. So why not make a team?
Absolutely. And I mean, what does it mean to you? You literally took these boys to men. They were boys and, little kids when they started karate. And here they are, men going out on their own, having their own careers, also fantastic martial artists, even better people. What does that mean to really have a grassroots, homegrown team like that?
Well, I got to give a lot of credit to my instructor, because my instructor did the same thing for me. We come from the Bronx, New York, and, we come from a real rough area where a lot of people don't make it out. And, there's a lot of poverty, drugs, a lot of violence and things of that nature. And my outlet was the martial arts. And so I'm just paying it forward. My instructor did it for me. So it's my duty. I feel I'm obligated to, pass it on the same way I got it. So, yeah, and you give the kids the outlets. All the kids come from different neighborhoods, different backgrounds, different things going on in their life, and karate is their outlet. So it was mine's, and I'm just paying it forward.
Speaking of paying it forward, I'm going to go ahead and throw a plug in there. You run a great tournament called the King of New York, but mostly important what's coming up is the Queen of New York. Tell us about that.
I got something to clear up with that, too. So I throw the King of New York martial arts tournament, and I'm changing my date from February to September, so I'm going to throw another one this year. Now, to honor the women, I'm calling it the Queen of New York.
Okay.
This is not an all-women's tournament.
That's a big
the
point of
main
clarification.
question that I keep getting from everybody. This is just like the King of New York. We're just naming it the Queen. It's the same exact tournament. And, again, I'm just honoring the women. So it's the same tournament. It's just in September. And, the females need love too. So it's the same exact event. It's for everybody. It's not an all-female competitor. My first advertisement, I put on all females just to get it buzzing or whatever. But I'll soon later add in all the fellas and stuff like that. But it's the same exact tournament.
That is a good clarification. I'm glad you did clear that, because people are like,
that's the number one question
I can't go because it's all for ladies. But no, it's open to everybody. You're just moving the date. So therefore forward, the King of New York.
Right, so everybody can remember September.
Correct. We'll always be in September. Now, let me ask this. I'm going to take you back a little bit. We've mentioned your son before, and I was talking to our AM session about Tyson's fight at the Irish Open this year. You were there, you're the man in the chair, and one of the most helpless things about that is that you can't get out there and fight for him. He was behind in the first half of the fight, and then you're giving him advice, James giving advice, and then Raymond Daniels come and give advice. What's going through your head, though, at that time?
All right, my nerves is going, man, because this was like the big stage. They say this is one of the biggest sport karate martial arts tournaments in the world. So, but I trust my son, man. He's a very patient fighter. He's very smart. He's one of the smartest fighters I ever taught. And his passion to win is like no one else, and his passion to lose is like nothing else I've ever seen. So, I just gave him a few pointers. He makes the overall call in the ring. I tell him what I see, and he take what you like out of it and throw the rest to the side and do what you ever see comes first. And that's what he did, and it was an amazing fight, man. He came, he wanted it bad. You see, so for me, what I did with him is we did a lot of different circuits. So I wanted him to win on every circuit, and a lot of opportunities I didn't have. I never got to do WACO or WKC and other stuff like that. So, and due to financial reasons. So now he has the opportunity. We did NASCAR. He finished #1 there. We did WKC. He won the gold there. I even did ISKA in Jamaica. He won that, and which was 13-17 at the time. He was 13. We also did WACO on the biggest stage, and we won that. So there's a few things that were strategically done, and he delivered, man. The kid is a competitor. He's a gamer, and he's the definition of taking it to the next level.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and thinking about from when we were out here doing things in Team Elite, it's been 20-plus years.
Yeah, how's that possible?
You know, you blink and it's just over with. But I remember coming here with you, Akin, Jody, you know, Hector, Jennifer,
Frank, everybody.
Frank. How just seeing things change. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
This tournament has been one of my favorite tournaments. I probably got one of my biggest winning percentages here. Atlanta has always been good to me. The tournament has always been prestigious. I remember it was in the Georgia Dome, you know, so this tournament just always had some prestige about it. Things definitely are changing. Now I'm more behind the scenes, and the young ones are still going. But it's changed, but it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed as in the prestige. They've actually added things, so now we're doing a Friday night fights, which is like amazing and, you know, off the hook. It's a little more entertainment and stuff like that. We're doing interviews and stuff like that. So, again, this is hands down one of my favorite tournaments, and I'm glad to see the change, and I'm glad to see that it hasn't changed too much on both.
It's still always about fighting.
It's
you
about
know?
fighting, man. If you want to fight, you got to come here. You fight on Friday and Saturday. So this is one of the few tournaments that highlight a lot of the fighters. Speaking of Tyson again, he got his first fight on stage at the Battle of Atlanta as an underbelt. It was a set fight. So they gave him his first set fight. You know, so this tournament is doing amazing things, man, and I'm just happy to be part of it.
Well, as we get ready to close, because you're going to go teach an amazing seminar.
Hurry up there.
I wanted you to give me a small preview about what. Just pull back the curtain just a little bit, because if you're not here, as Jody said, you deserve to lose your first next 12 years of fights.
Quote of Jody Tension, the great one. He said, "If you not here for $50, you deserve to lose your first fight for the next 12 years."
That's it. Bam. just straight out there.
Straight up.
But give us a little peek. What are they gonna learn for those that have that are there waiting for you to come in there? A little taste of what
so it's a taste, man. You got 5 different perspectives of world champions that is gonna put their perspective and their philosophy on the way they see things, and they're gonna give you the top quality of techniques that they feel are high percentage and that works. We're gonna give you a little mental toughness and what it is to be a champion, and you know, go to that registration over there and pay your $50, man, and you come get the rest. Trust me, we won't let you down. It's gonna be awesome. You got James Poor, myself, Tyson Ray, Anthony Merrick's, Kodak Ray. So, I mean, pick your poison. But you know, usually most seminars one person doing it. You getting the whole group. So you know, it's a no-brainer to me, man. Sign up, you won't be let down.
That sounds like it's pretty good. And you know, speaking of going to another great fighter who's got another interview coming up, we're going to throw it over to Josh right now. Good luck with your seminar.
All right, Josh,
over
take
to
it
Josh.
to you, man.
What's up? Josh Horridge here, reporting back live at the Battle of Atlanta. And we took a few-hour break, and I came back, and this place is starting to fill up quick. Energy's picking up. Fighters are rolling in. Bows are flying everywhere, and there's some awesome competitors that are now here. Next Level Camp's about to start. So if you're not here, hustle down here, and let's get going. But speaking of awesome competitors, I'm here with PJ Clark, a great team competitor. So, PJ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is PJ Clark. I'm 15. I train at Joey Perry's Martial Arts Academy. I live in Arkansas, and I'm on Team Competitive Edge.
So how and when did you get on Team Competitive Edge?
I got on Team Competitive Edge about 2 years ago, and I came to a lot of their camps, and I guess they just saw something in me or just thought that I was good enough to be on the team. So they just kind of invited me on, and I was like, sweet, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. So tell me about your head instructor, and then tell me about your coaches. What do you like most about them and their training?
My coaches are great. I mean, the Presleys.
People don't appreciate, everybody appreciates Ross's greatness as a fighter because that's obvious. But, you know, Ross holds the record for the most Warrior Cups.
All around awesome.
Man, you truly couldn't ask for a better group of coaches and instructors around you, so that's probably why you're shining right now. So let's talk about one of your biggest wins in the past. So far in your career you've had, what has been one of the biggest moments for you?
One of my biggest moments was actually at the Battle of Atlanta, and it was about my 3rd year coming, and I was an underbelt, and I got to be on stage to compete for the first underbelt overall grands, and for the 13 and under, and I was happy, and I got to win that one. It was an incredible feeling.
So you won the very first time you were ever on stage.
Yes, it was awesome.
That's awesome. Talking about being on stages, you say you have some other hobbies besides martial arts. Tell us about those.
I like doing theater at my school, and you know, it's pretty fun. I'm a thespian, so all you theater people, it's pretty sweet.
That's fantastic. We were chatting earlier about it, talking about how that gives you the confidence to command the stage, whether you're teaching a karate class or you're performing, and having the confidence to be up there and just do what you've been designed to do. So as far as instructing wise, how's that helped you with your competition and your acting?
It's just kind of helped me open up more. It's made me an overall better person, made me had a better attitude, made me able to talk to people easier. I can communicate better with other people, and it makes me like meeting new people. I mean, meeting new faces, seeing old ones, it's always cool.
Well, yeah, we've been talking nonstop, so I could definitely see you have that skill for sure. So we're at the battle. It's one of my favorite events, so I want to know about your first time at the battle ever.
My first time at the battle ever was pretty intimidating, but it was super awesome. It was my first NASCA tournament, and I'm glad to say that this was my first NASCA tournament because this place is awesome. It's so sick. It's incredibly cool. I had a good time competing. It was super fun to watch like all the bigger guys because since it was my first time, I was a little nervous about going up there, competing, and seeing a lot of my coaches now. I had no idea who they were. And since I saw them for the first time, I was like mind blown about everybody that was just showing off what they had. So it was probably one of the coolest, craziest experiences I've ever had.
That's great. So what about someone coming to the battle for their first time? Would you give them, what advice would you give them?
Don't be scared. Don't be intimidated. This place is full of a bunch of people. They're warm-hearted. There's so many people out there. They're always big supporters. There's always big supporters there.
That's great advice. Now, let's dive into competition. So who is your biggest competition in your division right now besides yourself? So you can't go there. So who's your biggest competition?
There's a few. Probably my teammates. Right now you have Esteban Tremblay, Benjamin Jones, you have Dawson Holt, and then you got some other guys. You got Kate Trinidad, Cody Leck, Salif, and you know, they're incredible. I mean, they are insanely good.
Man, you have some stacked divisions. So what divisions do you actually compete in?
I compete in musical forms, and I'm more of a weapons guy, so I do creative weapons, musical weapons, extreme weapons, and traditional weapons. And then me and my friend Ben actually do Team Sync.
That's fantastic. So as far as people you looked up to as competitors are concerned, who have been your inspirations?
My biggest inspirations have been my coaches, Reed Presley, Cole Presley, Jackson Rudolph. They've always been kind of like my top-notch guys. And Jake Presley, too. I always saw him as someone to look up to, especially for being closer to my age. And doing what he's doing now is just incredible.
So the last question here, competition-wise, how do you prepare for these events? Do you believe in supporting a local circuit? Do you believe in just training on your own? Like, how do you get ready for these events?
I more train on my own. I have privates, you know, I get information that helps me. A lot of training. I normally do train by myself. Yeah.
Well, PJ, that's awesome. Hey, listen, it was a fantastic interview. I enjoyed meeting you, and don't miss him competing this weekend.
Our next guest Another member of the Presley clan, Cole Presley. Welcome, Cole. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here.
I know you were telling me you were a little bit sick. Are you all better now? Because I want to make sure
Yes, I'm getting much better. I had a whole lot of trouble with my stomach the past 2 years. I lost a whole bunch of weight in December of not last year, the year before, and I'm really just kind of getting back from that. I'm actually about 16 pounds up from where I was when I was at the lowest of where I was. So I'm really on the way back up.
Oh man, it's kind of most people strive to lose weight, but when you lose weight from being sick, it's kind of, that's not the way to go.
Yeah, it hasn't been fun, not at all.
Oh, I can only imagine. But well, I'm glad you're here and you're ready to compete this year's Battle of Atlanta. First of all, so let's see. I noticed that Reed grew the beard last year. Now you're coming in with it. When can we expect Jake to get his own beard?
Jake, he hasn't grown his beard yet because he doesn't want to show us up, honestly, because, we all know that, it's Jake, so he's going to have to outdo us a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
But he's trying to wait as long as possible, I think.
I mentioned this to Reed earlier, and I told him, I said, hey, your parents always have a favorite sibling or favorite child. Who do you think that is? Actually, I was expecting him to say himself, but he said Jake. Would you agree with that?
No.
Tough question.
That is a tough question. I wouldn't say that Jake is the favorite. I would say that, I think they treat us all a little bit differently, honestly. I think that, I think I got the most control over him, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's funny because Jake said it was Avery.
Yeah? I think Avery's got our mom wrapped around her finger, definitely.
Well, when you're the baby and you're also the only girl, you have quite an advantage. Well, let's talk about you. It's been a couple years you've been competing as an adult with your brother, sometimes going head-to-head in competition. What do you do to try to stand out so that you're just not looked at as Reed's brother?
Well, actually, when I first started competing, that was one of my main goals, is because both Jake and Reed started before me. And so when I started, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and that's why I ended up going with commas as my main weapon. And ever since then, I just kind of try to do something completely different from them. And as far as my own personal achievements, I think it's worked out for me.
Absolutely, I would agree. And the thing is that every one of you, from every child with the last name of Presley, you all stand out in your own individual way. And you seem to have known your niche before trying to find it. I got to find a way to stand out from Reed or Jake. But you guys have all been individuals, but also stood for the same family. One of the things that Reed mentioned, and also Jake mentioned the same thing, is that when we're out competing, we can't wait to go back there and cheer each other on and give a big hug right after you finish competing.
Absolutely. Another thing that kind of goes along with that is I get way, way, way more nervous when I watch them compete than I do for myself. Watching them compete, I want the absolute world for them when they're out there on that mat, and I know it's the same for them when I'm out there as well. So that's definitely a common thing between us.
Now, one of the things that Jake and I talked about just a couple hours ago is that Jake's got pretty big ambitions to go to Hollywood and do stunts or act, maybe both. Do you have any of those ambitions? Is that something in your future?
It's not something that I necessarily would go after or move out there to do. I did enjoy some of the things that I have done. I've done some things for the Into the Badlands thing that we did. I enjoy it. It's fun. I don't know if that's what I want to do as much as what he wants to do.
That's really interesting. I know Reed is doing a lot of physical fitness and also special one-on-one work. What do you have lined up for you? What do you see yourself maybe in the next 4 years in terms of what you want to do?
Another tough question. Right now I'm still in school. I'm kicking my butt with that. I'm getting a business administration degree right now. Up until this semester, I was studying science, really just general science, trying to figure out what field I would like to go in that. And I switched over for business. I want to kind of be able to run my own martial arts school if that's ever an option. And then after the semester, I'm kind of thinking about going back into the science field. I don't know where, but I think it fits in really well with what I've done my whole life.
And that's something I didn't know about you. What would you say is your favorite science?
I think as far as interest level, chemistry, stuff like that is just crazy because it's just so deep and so crazy like that. But as far as classes and what I've enjoyed the most, biology I enjoy a lot.
It's always interesting because we had Jackson on earlier, and Jackson's looking into neuroscience, and You know, even I don't remember what Derek Megan wanted to major in, but you guys are picking, I mean, high-level stuff for to study and to be interested in. And chemistry is fantastic. You know, I remember taking it, and I was amazed at, you know, you mix this with this and you get this, and there's so much other things that you can do with it. I mean, you could become a chemical engineer, you could do this, that, and the other. But has science always been a passion of yours?
I would say probably like senior year of high school. I had a really cool, it was high school chemistry. I had a really cool chemistry teacher there, and then when I moved to college, I got lucky again with a really cool biology professor, and then so like just because of them too and their impact on me, since then I've been just interested in it.
So
And
it was
then-
the teacher that actually drove the passion for you.
definitely.
And that's always a good thing. You know, just to be truth and honest, I actually am friends with my high school chemistry teacher on Facebook. He's still as cool as he was then. He is now, and it's interesting how it does work out like that.
Yeah.
You ever thought of becoming a teacher?
I don't know. I don't know if I could put up with people like me in their class.
It is a passion. You have to be
Right.
passionate. There are a lot of people. I know Andrew Caliban's a math teacher. You know, it's really interesting that you have a lot of martial arts athletes that are teachers. Terry Kramer, a
Right.
longtime educator, that you will have to have lots of patience.
Definitely.
But I agree with you. So let's think. You had a great camp earlier today. What was your favorite part of the competitive edge camp this morning?
Honestly, I love teaching the whole thing. My favorite part, we usually do like a quick little hand combo that me, Miss McKenzie, and Jackson all went through and taught the whole camp. That part always has so much energy. The kids are going crazy. Everybody's working hard. Everybody wants to get better, and you can really see it in that section. So I'd say that was probably my favorite part.
Let me ask you this. We talked about earlier, talked to Reed about him joining John Paul Mitchell. What was it like when you got the call, or maybe it was an email, maybe it was a text, I don't carry a pigeon, whatever, that you're going to be on John Paul Mitchell? Do you remember that day?
I do remember that day. I had kind of expected the call because I'd gotten a couple like different messages, and you know, I had a feeling, you know, but the day that I got the call, you know, it's like almost it didn't quite hit me at first, like because it was still a couple weeks before the tournament, and I wasn't quite sure if I was going to compete at the tournament. So like I had a lot of things in the air, so it was kind of hard for it to really resonate. But once I stepped out on the mat and I had the uniform on and I said the intro, I mean, it's unbelievable.
As we start to close, I gave you a lot of tough questions, so I'm going to end it with one tough one. Competitor, past or present, that if you're doing something, you stop everything you're doing just to watch this person.
Past or present? Oh, goodness. I have three, really.
All right, I'll give you three.
And all three of them are kind of related in a way. Kalman Shoka, I mean, the man was just phenomenal, absolutely crazy. Everything he did was just perfect. Marcel Jones.
Oh, yeah,
He was
Marcel.
one of my instructors. I did lessons with him for years. Again, absolutely amazing, super powerful. And then the third one is Rudy Raynon. And it's just, he pioneered a lot of the kamas and just was absolutely crazy with it, and that's my favorite weapon. So
Those are some absolutely amazing competitors. Cole, I know you're going to have a great battle of the weekend.
Yep,
Thank
absolutely.
you for stopping by.
Of course.
And we're over to Josh, who is with Luke Wilson. Josh, take it away.
All right,
Take
I am
it
here
away,
with
yeah.
Luke Williams, an adult forms and weapons competitor. Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm 19 years old, and I've been training for about 5 years now, since I was 14. This will be my fourth Battle of Atlanta now.
So earlier we were talking about how most people don't start training when they turn 14, but you started a little bit later, even though you're still young, but you started a little bit later than most kids. So what got you into the martial arts?
So actually it was my mom. She was 36 at the time, so another age that most people don't like get into a new thing. They want to do what they're comfortable with, but she was a yoga instructor, and there was a local school that needed somebody to help get their students more flexible. And when she started teaching there, they told us that we could take some classes for free. And so we started, and we just kind of got all in. So now my whole family trains.
So you say whole family, but it's not like you, your sister, and your mom. There's a whole group of you. So tell us everyone in your family who trains.
So me, my mom, and my sister are first degree black belts in Tung Sudo and in Taekwondo. And we're testing for second soon in both styles. And then I have two brothers who train and are about to go for their black belts in Taekwondo. And then my youngest sister is starting now as a white belt. She's 4. And then my dad is a black belt candidate, but he's not actively training at the moment.
That is so cool. So is there any competition amongst family members when you guys train?
Oh, always. I mean, yeah, it's always that competitive mindset where we're all trying to make each other better, but also beat each other to something. So I mean, we race all the time, make bets about who'll land what trick first, who'll, place in a division higher, whatever. I mean, it's always got that competitive spirit behind it.
That's awesome. I think that competitiveness drives success, because you don't want to be showed up by your little brother or your little sister or older brother, older sister. So as far as competition, doing smaller events leading up to these big events like the battle makes a big difference. So you support the Pro Max circuit, correct?
Right.
So what are some of the tournaments you attend on the Pro Max circuit?
Definitely always Battle of Atlanta. It's the biggest one we have on the circuit. And absolutely always the Music City Smackdown, since that's the one my school puts on, which was the first Pro Max tournament. I normally try to make it out to East West Challenge, Arkansas Open, Memphis Open, some of the highlights. I normally try to make it to all of them, though. Pro Max is a good circuit.
So do you say you are someone in your family's at a tournament almost every weekend?
I mean, honestly, I had to tell my work I can't work weekends because I'm never in town. I'm always gone for something.
That's fantastic. And you say if you're not competing, you're judging. So you love being involved in sport just in general. So what do you like about judging?
With judging, I always, coming up, you have a lot of judges who want to walk away the moment there's a break or who doze off and aren't paying attention during the middle of the divisions. And it always frustrated me, but I didn't feel like I had a right to complain if I didn't do something about it myself. So I feel like, it gives me the right to complain. If I come out there and judge the way I feel like one should judge, then I feel like I'm actually doing something about it, not just standing there whining about something.
So do you believe like becoming an efficient judge has helped you be a better competitor?
I definitely think it has, and I think it gives me more of a respect for what the judges do. I know more of what they're looking for and really like how the day is, because I mean they go through hours and hours and hours, no lunch break, hardly, don't get to sit down for any length of time. I mean, it's just, they go for a long time. And so it does give you more respect for it.
Those are some long days sitting in that judge chair, and a good Chick-fil-A sandwich always helps, doesn't it?
It does. I have a good friend who scorekeeps all the time, and I always try to go get her coffee at some point in the day and bring it over while she's in the middle of it because she doesn't get a chance to walk away or anything.
It makes a big difference. So obviously we're at the Battle of Atlanta, and you said your very first event you ever attended was the Battle of Atlanta. Tell me about your first time here.
All right, so I was 15 at the time. It was only a few months after I started training, and my mom wanted to come. She had done one local tournament before that, but the rest of us hadn't, and we all thought it would be fun to compete now. And so we came. We had some good friends who were already going to be here. And then we knew there were going to be people to train with and do camps with. So we knew that would be a good training experience as well as a good time to just compete and hang out with friends for a long time.
That's fantastic. All right, last question. Who is a competitor that you can't wait to see perform this weekend?
Definitely Benjamin Jones, because after last year he got his first place in divisions, and then his first place in runoffs, and then his first grands win on stage. So he did a nice clean sweep of it. All of those things for the first time ever for him. So after the performance he put on last year and the way he did it last year, I just can't wait to see what he can do this year.
Well, you got me wanting to watch him too. So Luke, it was awesome meeting you, and I wish you the best of luck in competition this weekend.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are back with a man who needs no introduction. To my right, the fantastic, I mean, I could think of so many other adjectives to add, but we have Dennis Brown, who is the promoter of the Capital Classics and China Open. Dennis, welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
This is great. I mean, I was just talking to you about how I remember growing up watching Martial Arts Showcase, getting up and watching that, and now I get to interview you. First of all, whatever amount of time we have is not enough. I mean, there's so many things we can cover. I'm going to make it a little bit personal. Dennis was in, and most people remember Dennis as a Kung Fu stylist, Dennis was in Junior Karate with my dad,
Yes.
and you guys were green belts.
That's exactly right. I was in junior school when he first started, down on 20th and L. We would all be down in Mike Cole's. Everybody was down there. It was the early days of Grandmaster Reed, but everybody knows me as the Kung Fu guy.
Right. No one has any idea that you started out in Taekwondo. but to keep that story going, you were doing Taekwondo, and then you moved to Kung Fu. What was the reason for the change of?
Well, I had always been doing Kung Fu since 1964. No schools, though, because there was really, other than down in Chinatown, the one school there, Jiao Ga. there was no place for us to study. So I would get together with a guy we called Kung Fu Joe. Your dad knew him real well.
I remember the name. I heard the name.
Joe Colvin, and we would every week when I got off my good government job, I would jump in the car on Friday and we would drive to New York City, watch Kung Fu movies, 5 different theaters. We watched double features at all of them, drive back early Saturday morning and work out in Meridian Park, now called Malcolm X Park, but Meridian Park. And we would do that every weekend for years, but because there was really no school. That's how I originally got started. But then I got to the point where I just wanted to have a formal school. And so I went down to 20th and L, and I walked in and joined June Reed's. Quan Rowe was there.
Yes.
Then that was the instructor there. Mr. Reed it was his school, but Quan Rowe was my first instructor. And I started doing Taekwondo. To this day, though, June Reed, before he passed, one of the things he said to me many times was, Dennis, the only reason your Kung Fu was so good is because I taught you how to kick properly.
That is definitely a lesson for the June Reed system. Here's a quick question for you. When most people that do have martial arts in a public arena, such as a park like that, how do you deal with, are there people there just watching, or some people, they'll be catcalling like that stuff doesn't work or whatever. How was that?
Well, a little bit of that. Meridian Park, as it was called then, was kind of empty. We'd be there early in the morning, generally Sunday morning, because we'd get up Friday and watch movies all day Saturday, and then Sunday we'd be up there doing classes or making up movements and putting stuff together. So some of the guys had formal training, but we always had a bunch of folks around us watching. It was still fairly new. In the mid-'60s, keep in mind that David Carradine wasn't walking across the desert yet.
Right.
Bruce Lee hadn't done his thing. Nobody really knew what it was. It was just that Chinese stuff that we did. There was nobody really even knew about Kung Fu. I think we called it Chuan Fa, which is what they called it in China at the time. But it was definitely something that I loved doing, and that was the only place we could train.
And just to go ahead and cover, you've had so many years of martial arts. You've had so much experience. You've been around, like you said, before Kung Fu. What's it called? It's Kung Fu. Well, not Kung Fu theater, but David Carradine's Kung Fu.
Yeah.
You've been around before Bruce Lee made it in Hollywood. You were bodyguard to Richard Pryor.
Yeah, we used to do that kind of stuff.
I mean, there's so much stuff that people doesn't know. How many of you all know that Dennis speaks fluent Mandarin?
Well, I wouldn't say fluent. The Chinese wouldn't think it's fluent.
I think it's
fluent. I do speak a little bit of Chinese. But I'm one of those people, I speak really well when I'm in China. But, you lose your ear if you're gone for a year or so. You have to kind of keep talking to folks.
To keep it up, absolutely.
But, yeah, I can handle my own when I get there.
So let's talk about Capital Classics. One of my favorite tournaments. It's a tournament right next to my house. You guys all ready for this year, rock and rolling?
Well, as ready as you can ever be for it.
Absolutely.
Every year there's something new. There's some changes going on this year. There's always new divisions, new things happening. But we think we're on schedule to be where we need to be by then. But the Capital Classics is something that has grown. I'll be honest with you, I never thought it would be where it is today. I competed through the 70s. And the only reason I even tried to give a tournament there was my first one at a little Eastern High School was because I thought that after I got a chance to travel around the country and fortunate enough to be able to go to a lot of the big ones, the Diamond, the Battle, and things like that, the U.S. Open I think was around, and Long Beach. I got a chance to see some of the best folks in the world, but I was winning. And I came back telling everybody I have competed against some people in my region, the DMV we call it, the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, that I think would do really well on the circuit, but they can't travel. They don't have the money. They don't have the time. They don't have, I'm a professional martial artist. I got time to take off and go. And I call myself saying, I just want to bring an event to the capital area to give all of these guys a chance to win, and because I had been on the circuit and was kind of well known on the circuit then, when I gave my tournament, a lot of the top people, the Linda Denleys, the Nasty Andersons, Terry Creams, all those guys showed up at my little tournament. And so they got a chance to meet the Hakeem Austins and folks like that and got schooled right away. And what we found out is that within 10 years, the Mid-Atlantic region was one of the hardest fighting regions in NASCAR. One of the top forms, weapons, and fighting. Because Charlie Lee and all those guys, but Charlie was already out there, and John was out there, and Helen, and all those folks got a chance to be seen at the Capitol Classics, and then people. It happened just the way I thought. People are going, wait a minute.
Where are these guys?
That is a rich region in martial arts. Of course, June Ree was the home of June Ree. So it was always a preferred professional martial artist coming out of there. Jeff Smith and all those guys all came out of that area.
Just an assortment of that. Well, Dennis, I thank you for sharing just a few minutes walking down memory lane. Always appreciative, of course. Don't forget the U.S. Capitol Classics coming on up. And we're going to toss this over to Josh, who's got another exciting interview right away. Take it there, Josh.
I'm here with Trent Spence, probably my favorite junior fighter. Maybe I'm a little biased because I get to hang out with you guys often, but your whole family's awesome. You're awesome. And I just want to talk a little bit about who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, like you said, my name's Trent Spence. I'm from South Carolina, and I train with him actually down in Atlanta here, and I also train in Spartanburg. So I train a few places. I travel a little bit, but it's okay. It's all right. Get good rounds in, but.
Now, I'm kind of a sport karate junkie, and I'm kind of from the same area, the same stomping ground. So let's talk about who your original instructors were, because they're some of my favorite fighters.
Yes. Actually, my instructor for fighting was Nate Windsor and Rick Lee, and they all taught me like how to kick and how to do everything. Really, they taught me everything. I'm grateful for that because they're all like great people and good fighters. So I'm really grateful for that.
For you viewers out there, you could not ask for a better training camp. Rick and Nick Lee, Brian Plimble, Nate Windsor, they're phenomenal fighters, and it shows in your skills, obviously. So you are currently on injured reserve. And I heard, actually I know this for a fact, you broke your foot kicking someone in the face. Is that correct?
Well, it was actually hip bone, but it was just the wrong technique in the wrong spot. I was going to go up high, but then he was already right there. I just picked my shot right there, and it was right on the hip bone, and just broke my foot, but it's all right. I finished the fight and kicked him in the head afterwards, so it's all right.
And the fight was in the Irish Open, and you won?
It was the Irish Open. That was the fight to go to the semifinals, and I tried to fight, but I just couldn't. I had to stop because it's way too much pain. I tried though, but because it was the biggest tournament in the world, I was right there, so I wanted to try at least, but I couldn't. So.
Speaking of these different world events, what's your favorite? I know you've traveled a ton. What's your favorite event you've been overseas?
Definitely the Irish Open for sure. It's just the biggest tournament. So many great fighters, so many just great talent, just great competitors. I love it. It's awesome.
So one of my favorite things about you as a fighter is your fight intelligence. You know how to slow the game down. You know how to counterattack. You don't give up many points. Where did you get that style from? Because that's not sometimes what I see coming out of Rick and Nicky's school. I see phenomenal kickers flying that leg around. So where did you get your fight game from?
Honestly, just being the smallest person in my division my whole life, it made me fight that way. It made me fight defensively, but offense sometimes, but mainly defense, and then movement and just timing people. It's just how I was raised, how I was born to be fighting. So it's how I fight everyone. Like, they're all taller than me, so I had to think around it, be smarter than the other guy, and then sorry, yeah.
So I'm going to take away the easy answers. You can't choose Nate. You can't choose Brian. You can't choose your brother. What fighters have influenced you the most besides the obvious ones?
Oh, I would probably have to say Zolt. He's one of the best fighters. I've always looked up to him when I was younger. Like, he was always just a great fighter. I've always admired him. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters, and I've looked up to him for a while. So probably Zolt.
I like that because I wouldn't have chosen that one for you. So I like how you can see different things in different types of fighters because that's not your fight game. So speaking of your fight game, what was one of the most important wins you ever had or one that stuck out to you the most?
Honestly, the Waco Worlds last year, I won the gold medal. 20 different countries in my division. I came off top. The only American in the division. I came off top. It was a great feeling. It's just awesome. It's a great feeling.
Well, listen, I can't wait for you to get healthy and get back. I can't wait for you to get training again and get to watch you fight again. But since you're on the sidelines watching, what and who are you looking forward to watching fight the most this weekend?
Oh, I'm definitely excited to watch the men's fight, obviously, because I love watching the men's fight. Just because I'll be up there soon watching competitors, learning some stuff, and fighters. So definitely the men's division for sure.
Well, Trent, I want to thank you for taking time to come hang out with me, and I appreciate you, brother. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you a lot this weekend. All right, buddy?
Hey, thanks very much, Josh. Hey, we're going to keep the other side of that Spence brother train rolling. With me, we've got Blake Spence, the older brother, right now. But let me have you introduce yourself to everyone. Your younger brother was just on camera with Josh, but now it's your turn.
I'm Blake Spence. I represent Top Team USA. I'm from South Carolina, and I love karate and fighting. So
There you go. And this is a great tournament. It's easy for you to get to. I know it's a quick drive. Actually, how far away is it from you?
Today it took about 2.5 hours. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, there was a little bit of traffic and construction work, but I mean, it was still super easy to drive. So.
It's funny because South Carolina has kind of quietly grown to be a nice little hot spot for martial artists. You got Brian Plimple down there. You guys are down there. You got a nice big star, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is located in South Carolina. What is it like, and to me, I always thought it would be kind of harder the further you go south, until you get to Florida when there's a school like every 10 minutes. But is it hard for you to get training partners, good quality training then?
No, not really. I mean, where I go right now, Spartanburg Martial Arts, they have tons of people, to work out with. I mean, different sizes, body, types and everything, just to get a different look at people. So, I mean, there's plenty of people I can go train with. Like I said, Brian Plemple. Sometimes I come down here to Atlanta, train with some of these guys down here. And because, there's a bunch of talent down here as well, just in the southeast area. So it's awesome. And
am I connecting the same Spartanburg Martial Arts with Nikki Carlson Lee Spartanburg?
Yes, sir, yeah.
I thought so. I remember that. Now, you guys are going to have to get your sport martial arts catalogs and go back to read. Nikki Carlson Lee was one of the most feared female competitors out there. She's won enough diamond rings for both hands. Do you get a chance to work with her, get decapitated by her axe kick all the time with her?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I can see her in the school. I talk to her, ask her some questions. But, she's mainly busy running the karate school. So, it's still cool to talk to her, see her, all that. So
she's a fantastic competitor, and if you get footage on that, especially young ladies want to see what a fantastic champion looks like, I would definitely recommend it. Speaking of, at the Battle of Atlanta, I know you've got to be coming here for years. What are some of your best Battle of Atlanta memories?
Moments. The one I can remember the farthest, it may have been 2 years ago. I was fighting Kyle George or whatever for Team Proper, and that day I beat Jalen Carr that day as well, and just two other good fighters as well. And that fight against him, and just back and forth the whole time. I was tired, but I kept pushing myself, and I was in there. I was going to win that fight. So that's the most memorable moment here. So
now I know we've talked before, and we were mentioning you guys have you're doing some homeschooling, you're training, this, that, and the other, but with the injury coming to your brother, the unfortunate injury that happened earlier this year, has it been tough for him, and how have you kept him motivated?
At first it was definitely tough for him, when he first realized he can't do karate, because he's been doing this for almost 10, 11 years, and doing something for that long, and then something happens like that and he can't do it no more. You get a little depressed and stuff, but once he had the surgery on his foot to get the plate and screw in it, once he healed up a little bit, we started going to the gym, doing some upper body work, just keep him moving and stuff, because you don't want to sit around for 6-7 months when he's out, not doing anything. So sometimes he tells me, hey, let's go to the gym now. So he's motivated, doing what he can, because he knows when he comes back, he's gonna be a beast. So,
I remember that we were at the Irish Open, and he threw a kick, and it didn't look, unusual.
Like it at all.
Just happened, and I thought he was actually playing around when I saw him in the wheelchair, but then I realized he's actually hurt.
He was actually hurt. After that fight, probably about 10-20 minutes after that fight, I was like, you all right? And he was like, yeah, I did something to my foot in that fight, and I can't really walk on it. So, he went out to the next fight, and, 30 seconds in, you can just tell, it was off. He blitzed the guy he was fighting, and he wasn't himself, and he couldn't put no weight on it or actually kick how he wants to. So he had to bow out of that fight, but he was fighting amazing that weekend at that tournament. But he's gonna come back a beast.
There you go. We're definitely gonna hold him to that. One of the things that was great about that is that your dad has footage of you guys almost, I think he said, every single fight that you all have ever done, which is quite an accomplishment. And that weekend, he actually wasn't there. We were chatting back and forth over the phone, and he was asking this, that, and the other, and I'm trying to keep him updated. But what does it mean actually to be traveling with your dad to tournaments and have his guidance? As Father's Day is coming on up and everything. What does it mean to have your dad in your corner to be able to guide you, drive you to tournaments, be there for you for the wins and losses?
What's it called? He's definitely been there since day one, and it's just good to have someone there 24/7, like 24 hours a day, just being able to, like, if you need, hey, I can go talk to him about some fights. Like, even when, like, he's not in Ireland, when he wasn't there, we got home, watched the fights, and we analyzed it together, and just having someone there 24 hours a day, no matter what, like, he's going to be there. It's awesome. Just him supporting me and what I do and doing everything he can. So it's awesome.
Now, you and your brother have a great relationship with Top 10 Team USA.
Yes.
Tell me about the sponsorships and everything, your relationship with the Lakers.
The Lakers are amazing. I mean, I'm just so grateful for them picking us out of everyone in the United States to represent Top 10, and being able to travel as much as we are, and doing some of the things we have done with them, like we wouldn't have done without them, and like Top 10, Fighters Inc., and my Eventex and everything like that. It's so amazing.
I mean, would you have even thought that your first day of actually doing karate, maybe your intro class, that it would take you to an Ireland or to Europe or to other places like that you would be able to do that with karate?
No, not at all, but it just, like I said, I'm very fortunate, and I train hard every day. No days off. I mean, some days, like, I go in and to the gym, like, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm not in the mood, but I make myself do it. Those are days I feel like I get better, and I take that extra level up, so it's awesome.
Now, I know your brother's injured right now, but how much easier is it that you have a brother that's not only with you in the martial arts, but also an elite fighter as well? You almost have a built-in training partner.
Yeah, it is. Actually, now, since, like, he can't fight at the karate school or anything, he watches me, like, sometimes when I take a rest spell or anything. He like, hey, do this, that, and he just, I mean, this year he's been I know he got injured early, but I've had a rough beginning to this year, but he's been part of me taking that extra step over the hump and making me become a better fighter. So it's just amazing to have someone at, like, his young of age and level just to help me out in things I don't even realize I do. So.
Well, as you're getting up there and you're finishing up school, what are your plans for the future? Are you looking at college, maybe opening your own school? What plans?
I definitely want to open up my own karate school and teach, because that's what I love and do. And I mean, definitely maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, I want to just teach and keep doing this, because I don't want to. School's not my thing, so
right?
It's just not my thing.
Well, that's being honest,
Yeah.
and you could be also ultimately successful. Could you actually see yourself open up a karate school with your brother?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's been a dream of us from day one. Like, and now, I mean, I'm Jared Liker and Bob Liker. I mean, they run a successful school and everything. So I mean, it's just help with them, and just the knowledge of the business side behind it all is grateful to be able to go talk to them and some other people as well. So it's awesome.
Well, Blake, we certainly appreciate you stopping by.
Of course, no.
And
Pleasure.
giving a thing. We're looking for big things from you from this weekend in the Battle of Atlanta. And we're going to switch this over to Josh, who's got another fantastic interview right now.
What's up? I'm here with Michael Smith. He's an adult forms weapon competitor and a studio owner. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Like you said, my name is Michael Smith. I'm 19 years old. I've been doing karate for 10 years now. Opened my school when I was 16. I've been training kids ever since.
So time out. We talked about this a second ago. I can't believe you opened your school at 19. I'm a fellow dojo owner, so I know the amount of work it takes. So how does it even happen when you're 16 years old? You can barely drive.
Yeah, I can't drive at all. I don't even have my license. It's all my mom. My mom has been a huge help here. She does all the business stuff, all that stuff, all the marketing. She got the license for it, so she's been a huge amount of help. I just take care of the floor.
That's fantastic. So did you get into competition before you started to own your own school or after?
Before. I've been doing karate. I've been doing competition pretty much since I started.
And why did you start the martial arts?
My mom made me. I did not want to go at all at first. I hated the idea of it. And then right after my first class, I loved it, and I couldn't wait to go back. I'm pretty sure I went back the very next day.
That's awesome. That's a smart mom. She drags you in there, makes you something you don't want to do, and now you own a business with it. So she had a master plan.
Oh, yeah.
She did. So tell us about competition. What do you compete in? What divisions?
I compete in creative weapons, traditional weapons, and traditional forms, as well as musical weapons.
Now, if you had to choose one division, what would it be?
Ooh, that's tough. So creative weapons is the most fun. Traditional weapons I typically do the best with, but recently I've gotten really into the traditional forms. I don't think I can choose. I really don't. I love it all.
All right, I'll let that one slide. This one you have to give me an answer, all right? Favorite adult competitor when it comes to weapons?
Cole Presley.
Good job. What about traditional forms?
Ariel Torres.
There you go.
Think about that. He's my coach.
Oh, is he really? So is he the one who inspired you to start competing?
No. I don't even know why I started competing. I guess my school had a tournament, so I guess they just told me to go.
So what was the first battle you ever came to? How long ago was that?
I want to say 6 or 7 years, maybe. I'm not sure exactly, but probably at least 6 years.
So looking back on all your battle experiences, what has been a moment that stuck out to you so far?
It was 5 years ago. I broke my toe about a week, maybe 2 weeks before I came, and I came in, competed in the non-NASCA division, and took home first place. So that was a pretty big one.
With a broken toe. That's absolutely fantastic. So heading into this year, the battle is one of my favorite events, but I'm also a local guy. So besides the battle, what tournaments do you love going to?
The AKA tournament Chicago is my all-time favorite. I love the city. I love the cold. I love the tournament itself. So that's probably my favorite.
That's fantastic. So let's go back to your competition in your studio. So not only do you compete, but you also run a studio. So a lot of competitors your age, they focus just on competing. They don't have to balance both those. How do you handle that?
I'm not going to lie. It's been a lot of missed training hours these last couple of years. I'm trying to get back into a flow with it. I have assistant teachers now that are helping out with that while I can train. So it's getting better, but it's tough to balance. It's really tough.
100%. In our business, something's going to get cheated. There's only so many hours. So whether it's your family, whether it's your training, whether it's your business, so there's only so much time you can divide. So heading into this year, what did you do to train for the battle?
Just what I've always done. Just been working at home. I've had private lessons with Ariel Torres. Like I said earlier, he's been helping me a ton with my traditional form stuff. But then besides that, really just working on my own, taking videos, love videos, watch it back later, see what I did wrong, and improve from there.
That's fantastic advice to our viewers. So thank you for your time, Michael. It's a pleasure meeting you, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Josh. That was another great interview. As you guys may or may not have known, earlier today we had some great camps. We had the Competitive Edge Forms and Weapons Camp taught by the incredible Presley clan and, of course, Mackenzie Emery and Jackson Rudolph. That camp, they were leading up. They were having all sorts of things that has shown how these competitors have won. Right now, what you're seeing live, we've got some stretching going on with the Next Level Sparring Camp right now. There's Jesse Ray and his crew from Next Level. There's Jesse Ray. There's Anthony Merrick's, James Poor, and Tyson Ray, Jesse Ray's son. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a fighter and you're not in there, you should definitely be in here right now. It is an explosive camp. They're going to teach you some wonderful sparring techniques. They're going to simulate situations. Maybe you're losing 4-0 and you're going to 5. Maybe you are tied up. What do you do for that next technique? They're going to give you everything they possibly can to help increase your winning percentage for the next time that you're in a ring. And it's just an amazing type of camp to be in there. But of course, we have another guest. Guys, right next to me, we've got Mr. RJ Davis. RJ, thanks and welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Perfect. Let me see. RJ, you're from Ohio, if I'm right?
Yes, Cleveland, Ohio.
How long have you been in the martial arts?
I have been doing martial arts for 9 years.
You said 9 years?
Yes, 9 years.
What style of martial arts?
I do Kaiju Kempo, which is a mix of a couple different Japanese styles, and then I also train in Wushu.
Oh, okay. Well,
yes.
Now that's interesting because you have Japanese and you have Wushu, which is
yes.
Chinese. Which one do you prefer?
I can't really decide. I really like to do both styles. It's a lot of fun.
Now, what actually made you want to study the martial arts? Was it a friend? Was it a TV show? What was it that drew you this way?
I was in Cub Scouts, and then all of a sudden I saw a martial arts demo, and it just really caught my eye.
Everyone has their unique story. It's interesting. A lot of guys that I was on a team with, they saw the movie Bloodsport.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, this is great. I want to do it." Some people, it was Ninja Turtles, maybe a commercial, maybe you had a friend that knew it, but it was a demo. That's interesting. Was the demo at your school, or was it at a mall or something?
It was at a park, pretty much.
So what do you remember seeing that said, "I want to do this"?
The main thing that I saw the most was they had this little girl, and they were just breaking boards all over her body, and that really caught my eye. It's pretty interesting.
How old were you at that time?
I was about 7 or 8.
Now, were your parents open and receptive to the idea, or did they say, well, maybe maybe we will, or did they say, let's sign them up right away, let's go?
They were kind of trying to find like a good place at first to make sure that it would be a good atmosphere and all that. And my mom knew someone at her work, and that's how I got in. So
you start doing karate. It was Kaji Kempo. You start doing martial art. And how long is it soon before you go to your first tournament and say, this is something I want to do?
I did my first tournament when I was a orange belt, local tournament in Ohio.
And were you hooked from that point, or?
Yeah, at that point I just loved competing.
Now, and then eventually you make it over here to the national stage, to the Battle Atlanta. And I know this is not your first Battle Atlanta. What do you remember? If I say the term Battle Atlanta, what is the first thing that you think about?
Pretty much just all the competition and how unique it is with the tournament as compared to like all the others. I just love how all the different tournaments are so unique.
It is, and it's got its own flair. And you're actually on Team AKA.
Yes. Have
you been to Mr. Sharkey's school?
Yes.
That is, they throw a fantastic event.
Yes.
Of course, with the AKA, the Warrior Cup. And, tell everybody what it's like to go there and learn.
It's so much fun to go there because there's so many different age groups and just so many different people with different weapons and coming from all over, and it's just amazing seeing everyone and learning about their story and all that.
Man, just so much great talent has come out of AKA. You've got a fantastic school. Hunter's Hunter Lyon's one of the best people for organizing things. He's someone we always lean on to ask for questions whenever we do anything, and he runs a spectacular event. It's at the beginning of the year. You've got the NASCA banquet. It's huge. It is what you would think if you were looking at a movie. This is what I'm going to see.
Yes.
So you got Kaji Kempo and you've got a little wushu going on. What do you mainly look forward to going to do at tournaments?
The main thing I like doing at tournaments is weapons, but I also like to do the kata forms, the CMX and that.
And do you do any team events yet with Team AKA, or is that something maybe in the future, maybe sync or?
I would like to eventually in the future do some, but not at the moment. I'm not.
So let me ask you. Actually, thank you very much for your time. RJ, we certainly appreciate it. Wish you the best this weekend at the Battle Atlanta, and we're going to toss it back over to Josh for another interview.
We are here with Cameron Marshall, another amazing teen competitor at the Battle of Atlanta. Cameron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Cameron Marshall. I'm 17, and I'm from Kansas, and I'm on Team Competitive Edge. I mainly just do weapons, but I do them all, I guess.
That's awesome. So which weapons do you do?
So I just do bow staff.
Okay. So who is your main instructor, and what city did you come from?
So my main instructor is Jackson Rudolph, and I just came from a local school from my hometown. I mainly taught myself everything for bow staff, but the school just gave me a place to start to get into the community.
That's fantastic. So how did you teach yourself the bow staff?
So I watched videos online of people like Jackson and some other competitors. I watched videos, slowed them down, like YouTube and Instagram, and just taught myself all the tricks.
That's impressive, man. That's real impressive. So how did you get hooked up with Jackson?
So one of my main idols was Jackson Rudolph. And when I came to my first NASCA tournament, which was the AKA Warrior Cup 3 years, I'm not entirely sure, but I went to the competitive edge camp there, met him, and then eventually a few tournaments later, I asked to do private lessons, and then that's kind of how it started.
That's fantastic. So there's a lot of young competitors that are very ambitious and very talented. What advice do you give them to get on a team like Competitive Edge?
So the main advice is to interact with the people who own the team. Go do private lessons with them. Go to their camps if they have them. Just get to know them and get to the point that they know what your talent is and what your potential is. And eventually, once you get to a certain level, they'll bring you in.
That's great advice. So what are some of the benefits to being on Competitive Edge? Like, what do you enjoy about being on a team?
Mainly the demo. The demo provides a good way to get on stage, show off some skills, get some championships. Like Competitive Edge was the World Champ demo team last year, and hopefully this year. But also the friends are all really nice, having a group of people to hang out with, that kind of stuff. And also the merch. The merch is nice.
Hey, you can't complain about the merch. So when I always try to coach young competitors, I talk about that competing is a process. You're not going to start off winning right away. So how long did it take you before you started experiencing success in this sport?
So I started off on a different circuit than NASCA, a smaller one. Well, I say smaller, but it's huge. But the competitors, the skill level is much lower. So I started off, and my learning process was pretty exponential. So I got ahead in the competition pretty fast. So on that smaller circuit, I basically started winning pretty quickly, and then once I got to a higher level with higher level competitors, then I dipped for a while. I had to put in a lot of effort to get back up to the top level, and then just around last year at the Battle of Atlanta was when I got my first top 3 placement. So
That's fantastic, and that leads me to my next question. What is your best Battle of Atlanta moment ever?
actually, that 2 years ago at this tournament, in that room just over there, I went in, I did my form. I was actually in a dropping spree for like almost a year, and I hit my form there. I got a 3rd, and then that was just a great day.
So competition is so mental. We talk about it all the time. So when you're in those dropping sprees for a year, how do you break those mental little lapses?
So the mental part is like the biggest factor, because when you've been dropping a whole bunch, the main thing in your head is don't drop, and then that just takes your mind off actually doing it, and then you drop. But to get out of it, you just have to put in way more effort than you usually would to force yourself to not drop, and then from there it's okay.
That's great advice for some young competitors, because once you start thinking about don't do something, it's something like the don't is out of the way, and you start doing it. So that's great advice. Now, heading into this battle, what are your goals for this weekend?
My goal is just to hit my form. I just want to hit a clean form. I've actually been like on a 6-month hiatus. My last tournament was AKA this year, so I just started training again recently. I just want to hit my form and see what happens. At AKA earlier this year, I got a 2nd. It was a tie for 1st, and then the way they did the judging gave it to someone else.
Oh, they dropped the highs and the lows, and that happened to be you. But that's close, man. You were right there. So as far as competitors in your divisions, who are the people that give you the most trouble? So you have the biggest competition against?
Mainly the common people. So in terms of both staff, there's Aiden Considine, and then there's me in terms of the top bow competitors. And then there are 4 great combo competitors there, like Connor Chastain, and the other Team Infinity person, I can't remember their name. But mainly the common people, because they have such good tricks in terms of weapons and also tricking, and I don't trick, I just do bow staff. So they provide the most trouble because they're so consistent and so good.
That was actually leading to my next question also. Are there certain weapons you feel that have an advantage over others when it comes to competition?
I feel that combos, because both staff is so oversaturated, have a slight advantage. However, both staffs also do really well. So I would say, depending on the ring, the weapon that isn't the most done or isn't the most saturated has an advantage.
Fantastic. So growing up, besides your coach, who did you look up to and who did you try to emulate the most?
So the first person I actually looked up to was, I hate to say it, but Trace Magellas. He was the first person I found on YouTube. I actually got on his team. And then from there, I kind of realized some things, realized the direction I wanted to go, and that didn't meet up with Trace's team. So I moved to NASCA and started following Jackson.
That's great. All right, last question. So you told me earlier at the ripe age of 17 you're about to retire. So tell us what you're doing with your life moving forward.
So at the moment, I'm taking all college classes, although I'm not actually in college. I'm still technically a high school student, but I'm just trying to prepare my best for college. So I have a lot of school. I also do a lot of music production. I make a lot of electronic music. I do that mainly with my free time, and then school, some research stuff, math and science, that kind of thing. So I have a lot of stuff going on, and karate just is a lot of money and a lot of time. So
I totally understand. Well, listen, Cameron, you have a bright future ahead of you, and I wish you the best of luck this weekend, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
You too. Bye, Josh.
Hey, welcome back. With me right now, we've got Andy Watford. Andy, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm wide open.
Oh, man. You know what? I've seen you around at so many tournaments. One of the great things that I do remember is if I hear Michael Jackson's Bad or a couple other things, I know you're going to be out there performing.
Yes, sir.
You have a unique music style for choosing that. What was your thoughts when you first started saying, I'm going to pull up Michael Jackson's Bad Duke?
Well, the thing is, back in the day, I did musical weapons and musical forms, in other small tournaments and stuff, and I haven't done it in many years. About in 2007, I was in a real bad motorcycle wreck, broke both my legs real bad, couldn't walk good for almost 2 years, and so that was kind of my therapy in the dojo. is cut some music on and make myself move. And then I've been back on the circuit for now the last 5 years, and I just had fun, you know. And I said, you know what, I can compete with these guys. I said, I can beat them. And I can't jump and flip like they can, but I got finesse.
That is actually interesting. My dad, it's been almost, I think it's 8 years from what I remember. Around this time, 8 years ago, he was in a very bad motorcycle accident as well. Also spent about 2 years in the hospital. He's back. He refused. I love his attitude. He refused to. They brought him a wheelchair. He was like, I'm not going out of the hospital like that. I will walk out.
Oh, definitely. And I was the same way. Matter of fact, there was a lot of other circumstances going around in my situation. They said I was going to be there a while. I left 6 hours later with 2 broken legs. It was not. They were not happy with me.
Now, do you credit the martial arts for your ability to just, you know, hey, I'm gonna do this?
Oh yes, sir. I started karate in 1967, and so I've been doing it a few years now.
Just a couple.
And I've been teaching professionally since 1976, and you know, that mentality of building your mind, body, and character, it plays over to when you have bumps in the roads like that, you keep moving forward. And that's something we try to teach our students and the people around us and all. So it really does make a difference in your attitude.
So let's get a little bit, where are you from, Andy?
I'm from Aiken, South Carolina.
Okay.
I'm right across the river from Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
And about 2.5 hours from here.
Okay.
You know.
So since you've had so much experience in martial arts for, you know, over a number of years, tell me, you know, how you've seen the change of the martial arts from, say, 1976 to now.
Well, it's been a big difference in a lot of ways and stuff. Back in the old days, it was either black or white. Either you have a white uniform or a black uniform. Now we got all
sorts of colors,
and you could pretty much tell who did what and how they did it. And today it's kind of hard because everybody's blended so much across the board. And even my system is a blended system, you know. But the integrity's there. It's still there. Sportsmanship is definitely still there. And to me, this is like a family reunion. Coming back to the Battle of Atlanta every year, a lot of guys won't go to L.A. or go to New York or go to Chicago or Miami, but they'll come here. And so when we see these guys, it's just like a family reunion. Everybody getting together and having a good time, talking about old war stories, you know. And it's just great camaraderie. But I'm still out there competing, and I love it. You know, it's just, it gets me going. It gets me up every day, gets me moving forward. And I'm trying to get, right now I probably got about 20 seniors in my karate school that's over 65. And
wow, that's impressive.
Yes, sir. And I have about another 15, 20 special needs adults and kids that I teach also. And I just signed up 50 new kids in the last 6 weeks, and 20 of them are 4-year-olds.
Wow. It's the incredible range of the martial arts, and, you know, just seeing the differences, but also bringing people together. Let me ask you, what is your first Battle of Atlanta memory?
My very first Battle of Atlanta memory was in 1970, and 71. And we drove up with my teacher. He brought us up here, and we was just in awe, you know. And we just had the best time. And I said, I'm going to do this. And that's what I've been doing all my life. I compete. For several years, I didn't compete at all when I was hurt. And but my son did a real kind of kindness at Dixieland Nationals in 2013. We have the same name.
So do my dad and myself?
And so he gave me his card at the time, and he said, Dad, use my card to go compete. And just a gesture, because, you know, I was paying for all my other students to compete. You know, after I paid for everybody's food, hotel and stuff, it got kind of expensive. So I just said I would just stand back and I would just coach y'all guys and I'll judge. And he got me back out there. And when he did, when I got out there, there was like, I don't know, 10 guys in my division, and they were all awesome. But I had to go first since I registered last, and I wasn't rated, so I had to go first. I said that's how I got the draw, and ended up coming second. And one of the guys asked me, "Are you back competing?" I said, "I am now."
Yeah, now I am, you know. Man.
But, you know, it's just a matter of developing, and that's what I try to do. A lot of these young kids walk by, they don't realize they're walking by, like me and Master Brown was walking by a minute ago talking, And we were both talking. I said, between the two of us, we got over 100 years of martial arts.
Well over 100 years.
Of experiences. And I said, these kids have no clue. They really have no clue. And the things that we have dealt with and developed with, and we could help them have a better understanding, guide them along their path.
Absolutely.
You know.
Keeping it back in that area, who was the first competitor you looked at that was your wow moment? Like, I can't believe I just saw.
Well, you have to understand, I grew up with Keith Vitale.
Okay.
And,
that's enough right there.
Keith was in my neighborhood, so to speak. And he was from Columbia, South Carolina, right up the road. Him and Mike Geneva and Sam Chapman. And South Carolina has produced some phenomenal martial artists. We had Bobby Tucker. And then we had, of course, Joey Shiflett and Marty Knight, Dewey Earwood. Me and Dewey came from the same school. We had the same teacher growing up. So I've always been around great martial artists. You know what I'm saying? So, and the tide lifts all boats, so to speak.
Yes.
And that's what I try to do. When I see young people having a bad day or whatever at a tournament, I pull them off to the side and I say, I know you don't know me, but can I give you a little piece of advice? I said, keep your chin up. I said, half of success is showing up. I said, the other half of success is listening when you get there. And I said, if you do that, you got a good chance of winning.
That is absolutely a great piece of advice. Let me ask you, in closing, we talked about someone that you saw that was a wow factor then. Who wows you now, today?
Who wows me now? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. The guys in my division, these guys over 50 years old, 60 years old, getting out there, and we all got body parts falling off of us. And, you know, when I see John Kim get out there and work it, and he just motivates me to get to a higher level. Paul Moe gets out there and work it. Terry Kramer, God, me and Terry Kramer have been friends for 100 years. And these are the guys that I look up to. And don't get me wrong, I love the young guys. All the Presley boys, I love them. They're all good. Half of them, I don't know their names. I know when I see them. But at the same time, they all impress me. Don't get me wrong, I love all of them. But when I look at the guys in my generation working and knowing they're out there still doing it, to me, that's priceless. That keeps me motivated. You know?
Well, Andy, we certainly appreciate you taking a few minutes to stop by.
I appreciate y'all giving me an opportunity to speak.
And being, of course, part of the history of the Battle Atlanta. Thank you very much, and I wish you great success this weekend at the 2019.
I'm gonna cut it loose. Y'all watch.
Definitely.
We're gonna have it out there.
We'll definitely make sure you watch. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And, of course, guys, we're going to be here for about another hour doing the live stream. And one of the things we definitely want to make you sure is to tune in tomorrow at 8:45 tomorrow for the Off the Mat series. We've got 8:45 a.m. to be specific. We've got James Poore, we've got Josh Harwich, and we've got Alex Reyes. They're going to be giving you some free knowledge. We'll be streaming that tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic. Tune in. All of these guys have a unique story to tell, and it's well worth it to tune in and hear that experience. We have Josh coming up with Dallas McFarland, and I think these guys are just about ready to go.
What's up? I'm here with Dallas McFarland, a local from Georgia. Dallas, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Dallas McFarland from Toccoa, Georgia, and I've been competing for 6 years on NASCO level. I'm currently 6th in the national level. So,
awesome. And what divisions do you compete in?
I compete in traditional challenge, traditional forms, and traditional weapons. So,
that's fantastic. And what got you into martial arts, and what got you into competing?
I started competing 6 years ago, and I just come to the Battle of Atlanta about 5 years ago and really loved it. And Dad was like, you got to start doing it. So soon after, started competing here and fell in love with it.
That's awesome. So you said Battle is your favorite tournament. Let's talk about your favorite moment from the Battle from all your experiences so far.
Well, my first one, I got first place. And then after that, I wanted to do better and do a lot more. And I started practicing 7 days a week, and that's where I won double grands as an underbelt, and that was awesome, first time on stage.
That's fantastic. I tell all my students, hard work works. If you put the time in, the results will eventually come. So heading into this battle, what are you hoping for, and how did you train for it?
I've been practicing every single day. I'm out of school, so it's an everyday thing. At least the top 8, top 5 would be nice, but trying to get up the points and end of the year, top 10, what I'm shooting for. So,
And that's fantastic. So we were talking earlier about the tournament environment and how you've created some phenomenal friendships, like a little tribe here. So if some of our viewers may have students or children that are competing and they're not sure if they really want to dive into the circuit or not, so give them a little sales pitch of why to dive into the circuit.
Well, when I started competing, I didn't really have anything in common with anyone. And then when I started competing here, it's like I had a whole family here, and you get to see everyone everywhere you go, and it's like your brothers and sisters, and I love doing it. So I strongly recommend doing sport karate. It builds your self-confidence and helps out with everything in life in general.
That's so true. Even having the confidence as a teenager sit in front of a camera and get interviewed is kind of hard. So besides confidence, what else has martial arts given you?
It's given me strength in my mind and discipline. Really, like having to be able to be respectful to your instructors and doing things like that, and being committed to the sport. So I'd never done anything like football, anything like that, and when I started doing karate, it stuck with me. So now I'm sitting on 7 years of going strong with it. So I love doing it.
That's fantastic. Tell us about your training, who your instructor is, a little bit about your family.
Well, I live in a small town, Toccoa, Georgia, and we have one of the only karate schools in the town that's ever taught martial arts. My dad's my instructor. He's been doing it for 30 years. And my family, they try to travel with me everywhere I go. I just love doing it. I fly around to all the tournaments, and it's quite an experience. This might be my last year leaving for the military, 2 years, so.
Oh, that's awesome. What branch are you going to serve with?
I'm going to serve in the Navy, so I'm excited.
Well, man, that is great. Having a heart for the country and to serve people it is a beautiful thing. But you still got a little time left. So as far as competition, who is your biggest competition in your divisions?
I got to say Mason Stoll. He is my biggest competitor. Love competing with him. He's got a heart of gold, and he's awesome. So I'll hope to be at his level one day,
So in the adult division, who do you look up to, and who do you want to, who do you emulate your style after, or maybe who gives you motivation?
Well, originally I used to do the competitive edge camps and things like that, and I went to the competitive edge winter camp, and I wasn't even doing sword, and Cole Presley was like, you got to do sword. So I got started with sword, and now I made it to stages all over the country doing sword, and it's pretty phenomenal. My dad now is in Iaido, which is a sword style, so it's pretty awesome getting to know the history of sword, and now I'm one of the top competitors with it.
That's fantastic. So as far as your martial arts career so far, what's been the biggest win or the biggest moment of your career?
It'd probably be the Battle of Atlanta. I was not doing good the year before. Didn't even get no placing or anything. Come back the next year, I worked so much harder, and I come out and won double grands and made it to stage, and I was a nervous wreck on stage, but it was worth it in the end.
Fantastic. All right, so last questions. Who is harder on you, yourself or your dad? Who's your biggest critic?
I'd have to say me. My dad, he pushes me to be the best, but it's all on me to put in the work. I could just go to the karate school and not do anything, and it wouldn't matter. So me putting in the work, really, all that depends on how I place here and all over the country. So
that's awesome. Hey, Dallas, man, it was a pleasure meeting you, and I wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Another great interview by the great Josh Horwitz. I'm sitting right next to Jacob Wood. This is great because, Jacob, this is your second Battle of Atlanta. So we got a kind of an interesting perspective from you. Last year was your first Battle of Atlanta. You're back again this year. So tell me about your experience last year, as it was the first time you were at this tournament.
So Battle of Atlanta last year was my first time coming here. I loved every second of it. It was super professionally run. It was huge. I just had a great time overall at this tournament last year, and it's just great to be back. Great hotel, great tournament. Everyone's here. I love it.
Now, that's quite a statement, because obviously you've been to the Warrior Cup, which is done. You're a member of Team AKA. I mean, both of these are great tournaments. The Atlanta, of course, being a little bit warmer. I have to admit, sometimes it gets a little cold. I think it snowed a bunch this year in Chicago.
Just a little bit.
But how long have you been with Team AKA?
I got on Team AK in October at the Diamond Nationals last year.
So what was it like getting that? Was it a call? Was it a text? How did you know you were being invited to Team AK?
I spent 3 years on Team Sharky, the local team, and I was working for it, and it's kind of a surprise. Every year at Diamonds, they surprise a bunch of new team members with like, hey, you're being put on Team AK this year. And it was just great. I had the largest group ever put on Team AK go on with me, and it was just a great night.
So what was it? What did that mean to you? Was it a huge surprise? Were you just absolutely overwhelmed? Did it happen after you came off the stage at the Diamonds? You know, walk me through that moment.
So it was kind of like, it was a bit of a build-up. People have been hinting at it for a while. It's like, oh, you're so close. Like, I can't believe you're not on AK yet. And I was just waiting. I've been waiting for so long. And we had our annual Team AK and friends meeting after the Diamonds night show. And they started calling people up. And I was the first name announced, and that just made me so happy. I had been waiting for so long, and we just celebrated.
Now, most people, they see people on whatever team they are, Team AKA, John Paul Mitchell, etc. A lot of people think that it's just the goal to get on the team. However, the opposite is exactly true. You get on the team, now you have to continue to produce to keep the good name going up. That's when the pressure kind of starts. Have you kind of felt that, or how does it feel adjusting with those 3 letters on your back?
I mean, I don't think it's much of a difference because I was always chasing AK. I was trying to progress, and that hasn't changed at all since I got on AK. AK is kind of like, all right, you've gotten to this point where we can see how dedicated you are, and now we're bringing you up to the next level, and it's all the same goal. I'm still chasing the same stuff, still progressing.
So have you actually been with Mr. Sharkey for a long time? Was that your first school to start at?
I did not start at Sharky's Karate Studio. I started taking classes at Sharky's Karate back in 2015, and my first tournament on Team Sharky was Warrior Cup 2016.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about Mr. Sharkey himself. I know he's been a guy that's been around the circuit for a long time. Everyone says such good stuff about him. He would literally give you the shirt off your back. What's been your experience with Mr. Sharkey?
Sensei Sharkey is just great. When I started going to Sharky's Karate Studio, it was such a different atmosphere from my old school, and everyone's just family to Sensei. He really brings you in, and he doesn't really seclude anyone. It's just kind of, hey, we're all in this together. We're all a team. I'm going to push all of you to your limit. And I just love the atmosphere of Sharky's Karate, Team Sharky, Team AK, because even like from our like blue belts on Team Sharky to our like world champions on Team AK, everyone's just family. We all know each other. We're all super close.
That is absolutely one thing that you mentioned is family, and you find a lot of the successful teams, that word comes up often and more often every time you talk about it. I mean, just having such a tight-knit group, they'll pick you up when you're down, and they'll push you when you think you've reached your limit. It only is going to make you a better competitor. Speaking of, what events are you going to be doing at the Battle Atlanta this weekend?
This weekend I will be doing creative and musical weapons, creative and musical forms, and traditional weapons.
So an awful lot of, kata and weapons and everything mixed in. When we think of traditional forms, who is someone that you look up to that you just sit in awe like, man, this person is a fantastic traditionalist?
Traditional forms. My all-time favorite traditional form, probably, I would have to say one of my instructors at Sharky's Karate is Stephen Bratton. He's got the best Gopai show I've ever seen. It's incredible. Super strong, deep stances. Love it.
And if we would ask you the same question for weapons, what would that answer be?
For weapons, I gotta say, the guy that got me into bow staff, Jackson Rudolph. Diamonds 2015, that traditional form in the night show, that is the form that made me actually want to start doing traditional weapons. I had never had any interest in that, but I loved it.
It's always someone that you can relate to and say, this is the person that I look up to, or I'm going to stop everything I'm doing at this tournament to look at this person to see I've got to catch them and everything. With the deep history of Sharky's Karate, Sharky's Karate team, aka looking at some of the alumni, you've got Matt Mullins, you've got Mike Chad. I mean, the list goes on and on. Do you want to have your name added to that assortment of the greats as well?
Oh, absolutely. I have dreams about being up on stage. I want to be like AKA captain. I want to be one of the AKA guys that just everyone remembers, up there with Matt Mullins and Craig Henningsen, Micah Carnes, all those guys. I just want to be one of the guys that everyone remembers.
Well, Jacob, I know you're going to have a fantastic Battle of Atlanta this weekend. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us. And we're going to go ahead and toss this over to Josh.
What's up? I'm here with Mason Stowell, and I'm excited about this interview because I've been talking to him for the last 5 minutes, and I don't want it to stop. So, Mason, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
My name is Mason Stowell. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I've been training in the martial arts for 11 years now. And, man, I'm all over the place with this martial arts stuff, man. I love it. It's my life. It's my dream. It's what I love doing. So, yeah.
So as far as instruction is concerned, I know you've kind of got the short end of the stick. Tell us about how you've struggled finding the right people.
Yeah, well, so when I started off, I was terrible at pretty much everything that I did, every sport that I did. I tried soccer, baseball, football. I couldn't do it. And I remember seeing a demo once, and I was like, man, these guys are doing like these crazy flips, and I want to do that. And the person doing the demo was Tyler Weaver, and I started off with Tyler Weaver, did my first karate class, and the rest is history. So, yeah, it was, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen, and I started, and it was just, the rest is history.
So what about now? Who trains you now?
Right now, my instructors Jarrett Liker and Becca Ross. So they're getting married this year, so it's really tough training with them. They're very strict. They're super hard on me. They're like my second parents. I'm always going out to Kansas City to train with them for weeks at a time. And man, I just love training with them. They're like family to me. So.
Well, they are fantastic. I love running into them at tournaments. They're full of energy. They're full of life, and they're passionate about this. And I know they want the best for you just like you do. So tell us where you were a week ago. This is amazing.
Yeah, so a week ago I was in Shanghai, China for a Premier League WKF tournament. And that was the absolute biggest tournament of my life, the biggest accomplishment that I have, being able to qualify for that tournament. And it was just absolutely insane being there with the best athletes in the world at the Olympic level, and just being able to see them in real life and feel their energy and their power is just absolutely amazing. It was an amazing experience. So.
That's cool. So let's talk about, because I didn't know the details about this. Tell us the divisions and how it broke down and how many competitors are in this division worldwide.
Yeah, so there's only 100 people allowed to compete in this tournament in my division, which is 16 to 34 men's division. And man, a lot of these guys have been competing for 20 plus years. They're 34 years old, and I'm going in there 16 years old. I'm like super like I just look like I don't belong there. And all these guys are just like super short and stocky and just super intense. And man, it was just an honor to be able to stand next to these guys that have been doing this their entire lives. So yeah, it was truly a blessing. It was a lot of hard training that went into it, and that was my goal of 2019, just to be able to qualify for that tournament. And I did it, qualified, did super well, and yeah, I'm excited for the next one.
So I know you won't self-promote, so I'll do it for you. So you said there's, I don't know how many. Tell me, 100 million, 4 million?
There's a total of 4 million.
4 million competitors in your division, and you broke the top 100 at the age of 16.
Absolutely, yep. In my first year of competing, so super big accomplishment, man. It was just an absolute honor.
Well, you better be proud of yourself. That's awesome. How many other teenagers that broke that 100 mark?
None. I was
the only one. Come on.
Youngest, so yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, that's what I said. It was just completely out of my element. I'm like competing with guys that have like facial hair, and like, oh my gosh, it was so cool. I loved it, every second of it, and I can't wait to do it again.
So that's huge, but I always ask, like, what's next? Because, you always celebrate those wins, but you got to keep going, constant, never in improvement. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so this style of karate is an Olympic sport now, so I'm really pushing towards that. My goal is to stay in the top 100 by July 1st so that I can qualify to compete at the Olympic mock-up tournament in Tokyo at the end of the year. So they're basically just doing it just to kind of get the gist of what's going to happen for 2020 in the actual Olympics. So my goal is just to make that tournament. So yeah.
That's fantastic. So obviously we're at the Battle of Atlanta. This is my favorite tournament. So tell me about your first battle experience ever.
Well, my first battle of experience, it was just kind of weird. Like, this was the biggest tournament that I competed at when I was first starting off in this league. And I remember just coming in here and just like seeing all the people that, like, I was like, oh, that's that person. Oh, there's, and it's just like I was totally like fanboying over everybody. And man, it was a tough first competition for sure. There was just a whole lot of people in my division. I had a ton of really tough competition, and I just something about just I kept coming back, kept getting better results every time, and eventually I won my very first CMX overall grand here at this tournament. So.
Well, you stole my last question, which was your best battle moment ever, and I'm assuming that was it. So who were you up against?
Man, I was up against some of the best in the world at the time. Aiden Kennedy. I was up against Aiden Considine. Shaquan Parson, who's from Atlanta. Just a lot of the best competitors. Alan Davies, and man, it was just a surreal moment. I had won doing my traditional, and I wasn't quite there with my CMX, and I just kept training, and I came back and won at this tournament, and that's the best moment that I had here at this tournament. So.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, listen, I've always watched you compete. I never got to talk to you, but I'm a huge fan now. So, man, congratulations and best of luck.
Yes, sir.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I've got a great guest right here, Mr. Jackson Henson from Augusta, Georgia. Welcome, Jack. How you doing today, buddy?
Good. I'm doing good.
You're doing good. Now, let's see. You just told me you're on Team Premier.
Yes, sir, I am.
How long have you been on that team?
I've been on it for 7 years.
7 years. You don't look too much older. I know you're older than 7, but that's been quite a while. I mean, if you've been on Team Premier for 7 years, how many Battle of Atlantis have you been to?
This is actually my 7th one.
7th, what, 7 in a row?
Yes.
So what do you remember from your first Battle of Atlanta?
There's a lot of good memories from a couple years of Battle of Atlantas. I can't name them.
Share me, maybe pick out one for your favorite, or funny one or anything. Give me one of them.
I remember whenever this was my first tournament, and I came out there with my green commas, and I freestyled it.
Just completely freestyle it, not a plan. So hold on, let me get this straight. You didn't have a set kata plan. You just went.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went.
Could anybody tell that you did that? Did you tell anybody that you were doing that?
No.
Now, that's even better. That's actually pretty impressive because most people, you have to practice and work on a kata over and over and over and over. But just to have the belief in yourself to go freestyle it.
Yeah.
Now, are you planning on doing that anytime soon? Because I want to see it. Now, I want to watch this.
No, I'm not planning on it.
Well, one of the things that's great is that being on a solid team like Team Premier, you've got a bunch of teammates, being with you and everything. What actually made you start martial arts first?
My dad actually influenced me. My dad loved the sword, and I would pull out a toy sword, and I would just follow his footsteps.
Oh, there you go. And did you start off just only doing weapons and katas, or did you do sparring as well?
I just started off just playing around with weapons and stuff because my dad would give me an opportunity to go to the dojo and stuff. So I just loved playing with them.
Now, if I had to ask you for your favorite forms competitor, who would you say that would be? Put you on the spot a little bit.
Probably Reed.
Reed? Why Reed?
Because he's easy to talk to. He's my favorite coach. So.
I mean, he is such a down-to-earth guy. He's very likable. Has he helped you out? Has he given you some solid advice over the years?
Yes, he has.
Now, and you mentioned sword. Do you use the bow as well?
I'm okay at pretty much every weapon, but bow and commas are my favorite.
Commas are your favorite. Well, it seems like if you were using commas, the person to go to would be Cole, because Cole loves using commas.
Yeah, I just like the feel of commas.
Well, let me ask you. So that was forms. What about weapons? Who is the person you loved? Like, if they're on, like, oh, wait, hold on, time out. This person's doing weapons. Who would you go to? You know, who do you stop dead in your tracks to watch doing weapons? Yeah, I'm making you pick one.
I like all of them.
You like all of them?
all of them.
Well, let me throw a name out there. What about Mackenzie Emery? How do you like her?
I like her. She's I don't know how to explain it.
She is fantastic. She can spin a comma on her finger like people do in basketball. I mean, I can't even do that.
I can do it.
So let me ask you one other thing. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years in martial arts? Do you want to get on stage? Do you want to win a national title? Do you want to beat Reed once you get to the adult? Where do you see yourself?
I want to own a karate school, actually.
You want to own a karate school?
Yes.
This is going to be completely awesome. I can actually see you running the school.
Yes, sir.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
At this weekend's Battle of Atlanta. And we're going to Josh right now. 3, and to Josh.
What's up? I am here with not Toby, but Tommy Ruth at the Battle of Atlanta. And I've had a blast hanging out here for the past couple hours, interviewing, talking to all the competitors. So tell us about what's going on right now and what you're doing with this product.
First of all, Josh, you've done a fantastic job. I'm really proud. Appreciate your help. It's been great. So what we're doing this year, we are live streaming the entire event. Normally we just do our night shows through sportsmartialarts.com on their Facebook. However, we partner with them. Obviously, you've seen Mallory on the broadcast. We're working together to broadcast through our new platform, which is truthentertainment.tv. Still working out some bugs, so it's pushing us straight through YouTube. So be patient with us. We're getting there. But what we're really trying to do is showcase as much of the competitions as we can, the community that we're trying to create here through the Battle of Atlanta, through the ProMac, just the sport karate world in general. There's such a huge family environment, such a community here. And we really, really want to showcase that as much as we can, because sometimes you just can't make it. So we want people to be able to see the camps and talk to the people and see the competitors, because we want it to be about the competitors. We want it to be about the coaches. We want it to be about the people who put the money up and go all over the U.S. just to come to these things. So that's what we're really trying to do. So we hope everybody tunes in this week and weekend, checks it out. It's been fun so far. I know you're having a blast.
No, I am. And so as a competitor and a coach, some of the biggest complaints we get from other competitors and coaches that most promoters are all about themselves, right? So you guys are doing a phenomenal job about trying to promote the fighters, trying to give them a platform to see who they are and what they do. And like you said, the good of the sport. And every competitor I've talked to talks about how they love meeting their friends here. They're the best friends, the tribe it creates. But people don't get to see that. So you guys are creating these environments where they can see that. So how can our viewers help promote what you're doing right now?
Well, first of all, like and subscribe to all of our channels. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Follow us on truthentertainment.tv. We have a lot of content. I know it's a brand new platform, so we're building this plane as we go. So it's there's some other shows on there like Power Hour with Alex Reyes, my comic book show, Direct Editions on there, and we're going to be following the ProMac Tour throughout the rest of this year and next season. So if you're on the ProMac Tour, if you're interested in the ProMac Tour, you can tune in to truthentertainment.tv and see the Dixieland, the Ozark Mountain Nationals, which are coming up, and a few other tournaments that are on that tour. You can also just share this with your friends. Get on your social media channels and share it, because again, it's a community, it's a shareable community. We want to make sure people can reach out and touch each other and do it through the digital space. And you know what? We really want you to come down here and check us out too. So if you're in Atlanta, swing by the Renaissance Atlanta Waverly Hotel. Check out the Battle of Atlanta. Got a lot going on. Big competitions tomorrow and Saturday. We've got a big fight show tomorrow night with all of our sparring and fighting competitions, with main event, which is Johannes Gutwald from Germany defending his title against Leslie Hope from Namibia. And then Saturday is our Battle Zone competition, which you get to see all your favorites on the stage, which everybody loves.
So last question. One of the business practices that we have is always to make it better. We evaluate situations and we go back and we make it better. Besides this, what have you done to make the battle better this year?
Well, this broadcast was one big step up. We always try to, what Disney calls bumping the lamp, which is taking it one little step further every year. So we've spent a lot of time over the last, 8 years now, putting one foot in front of the other with the Battle of Atlanta and bringing more value to it. We do have some special guests here this weekend, and if you're here in town, you will know who those people are. I can't really promote them online, so but if you're here at the battle, check them out. We are really bringing the value mostly through this broadcast and through some of our marketing. We're really we have a crew running around here creating feature stories about competitors, coaches, promoters. We want them to tell their stories. What are their martial arts, not just their martial arts stories, but what are just their stories in general? How can people connect to people? And that's really what we're trying to do this year with the Battle of Atlanta, with the ProMac, with Truth Entertainment. That is really our biggest goals. Like you said, you're a karate school owner, you're a coach, you've been doing this a long time, you know what it means to be connected. This is where, I mean, it's not just your business. This is where these people go and like hang out, you know, and that's what this whole thing is. And we want to promote that as much as we can.
That's fantastic. All right, you're not asking me for this, but last thing, you and your brother need to wear these shirts and then have Toby and Tommy put on them so all of us know what's up and who it is. Hey, man, this is an awesome event. We thank you so much for this. I can't wait for tomorrow and Saturday night. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks very much, Josh. We're going to go ahead and semi-close this section out. We've saved one of the best guests for last. I am joined by the fabulous Gabriella Dunn. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
First of all, how you doing today?
Really good. I just finished my 4th private lesson of the night, so I'm a little tired, but I'm just lucky I have such a great group of kids that I'm able to guide and lead. So,
you know, actually, speaking of private lessons, I remember, we'll take it way back in the day. I remember actually being here at the Battle of Atlanta and had a very early flight to go catch, and I wake up at like 6 in the morning and I see Mike Chat in the hallway, John Valera. I'm like, why are these guys up early and they're doing private lessons? What does it mean to you that someone says, hey, you're an amazing competitor, can you teach me what you know?
I think it's one of the most amazing feelings in the world because you've worked so hard to the point where you have that recognition and the people want you to guide their children. So I think that personally is one of the most, how do I say, inspiring feelings that an instructor can feel.
That's pretty amazing. And you're also on Team AKA.
Yes, sir.
If people don't recognize you out of uniform, if I remember right, you're traditional stylist.
Yes, sir.
What is your traditional martial art background? What is your core martial art?
So I have a black belt in Junior Taekwondo.
Oh.
That's, yeah.
I was originally a junior student too.
Really? No way. So that is my base, that's my foundation. And as I went on with the circuit, I started to realize that, you know, Japanese karate is kind of taking over, and I wanted to, you know, kind of branch out, learn a new style. So now I have my Shodan, which is a black belt in Goju karate. And I think it's so amazing that you can learn these forms that go back for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. It's like you're doing a piece of history with your hands.
That is spoken like a true traditionalist.
Thank you.
That's interesting. I didn't know you were a junior student. Where was your original school at?
My original school?
Yes.
Well, it's my father's school, so I grew up literally doing karate. And I just think it's amazing how his philosophy is that, you know, nobody bothers you and you can really just be your best version of yourself.
I remember, and a lot of people don't know, but I didn't start until I was a junior in college. But my dad used to take me to the Junior at Marlow Heights, and I met Jeff Smith, Mike Coles, Otis Super, all these original jewelry instructors. And I remember the commercials. I remember Chun being in that commercial.
Yeah.
Nobody bothers me. Nobody bothers me either. One of the great things about that, the television show The Americans, which is set in the late 70s, early 80s, they actually called Chun to ask him for permission to show that on the TV during the show because they wanted to make the show as authentic as possible. And those commercials were everywhere in the Washington, D.C. area. When you take jewelry self-defense, then you can say, nobody bothers me. I can hear the commercial in my head, but I didn't know that. That's very good. So I've seen you out in the circuit for years. I mean, you've been out here. You are supporting your boyfriend, Jackson Rudolph.
Yes.
And every time I mention it, it's great. When I mention her name, she just smiles this most wonderful smile. What is it, like to support him and to be there for him? And I know he's right there cheering you on as well.
Yeah.
But you guys make quite the power team.
Thank you so much. Well, he really is my biggest supporter. When I've had, some of my not as great tournaments, he's always the first person to be there and cheer me up. So I'm really lucky to have him. And as far as training goes, he kicks my butt. He really, yeah.
It's all out of love. He pushes you to your limit and then finds some more space after that.
Yeah.
Now, you've also had the ability to train. You were over in the Irish Open with us. You've been, traveling everywhere to all these tournaments.
Yeah.
You're originally from Connecticut. Are you in school now?
Yes, I go to the Western Connecticut State University. It's a little state school. It's really quaint. It's only 15 minutes away from my house, so it's good. My first year of college, I was out in California, and I felt that it was really hard to train, kind of a dangerous area. So I'm definitely more comfortable being home back in Connecticut, and it's definitely a lot better training-wise. So.
What do you have? Have you declared a major? Actually, that's the first question.
Yes, communications.
Communications.
Yes.
So what's your ideal job? What do you think?
Speech pathologist.
Speech. And I'm very about that. Speech pathologist, man. I need your help right now. That's pretty good. So what year are you in right now in school?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore?
Yes.
That's pretty good. So it's not neuroscience, kind of like what Jackson's doing, you know,
Yeah.
but speech pathology.
Yeah.
He's way above my levels. True. Well, that's actually pretty good. How hard do you find it to train, compete, and go to school?
Very careful scheduling. So I usually try to book all of my classes early in the morning so that I can teach and train late afternoon, nighttime, and then all of my homework from 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. until sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning. So very, very careful scheduling.
I can relate to that. I was a student, as I mentioned before, when I was out on the circuit, and half of my luggage were books. I was a computer science guy, so I'm bringing physics, operating system. I mean, we're talking giant books like that. So it is amazing, and I know how hard it is to be a student and compete as well.
Yes.
Well, Gabrielle, I'm going to let you go with one last question. Your best Battle of Atlanta memory?
That's a hard one. I've got a lot of good memories at this tournament. I would say the first time ever placing second place, the highest I've placed it at, it was my first year of NASCA. I wasn't really placing well at all. And of course, I just started dating Jackson. And so he was cheering me on. And that feeling of, I'm so close, I'm finally there, is probably one of the most amazing feelings that I could get.
Right. I mean, that is a deep personal connection to the Battle of Atlanta. That is very good. Gabrielle, we really appreciate you stopping by and wish you the best of luck this weekend in competing.
Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, we're going to go ahead wrap up for the rest of the day here, but we'll be back at 8:45. As you can see, there's great footage right now. The sparring seminar that's going on, Next Level, that's just showing everybody learning all those great skills from Jesse Ray. And here you see some kids, they were warming up. Of course, we had that fantastic competitive edge camp. You know, the Battle of Atlanta is just starting. It's going to be absolutely amazing this weekend. We are just getting started. Today's just Thursday. Guys, off the mat at 8:45 a.m. tomorrow. That's going to be live stream. There are 3 great stories you want to hear. And, guys, we can't wait for you to be a part of it. We'll be here all weekend. We will see you at 8:45 tomorrow. Good night.